Are you installing curtains or thinking of installing curtains or shopping for curtains, or you have some curtains that just kind of aren't working for you? Well, today we're going to be talking about the types of drapery rods there are. I'll walk you around my house and I'll show you a few different spaces in my house where I've installed curtains with different types of rods and different types of headers, the good, the bad, and the ugly about all of them. So let's get started. It's Mimsy here. I teach budget-minded people how to beautify and improve your homes with home decor, sewing, upholstery, and DIY so that you can have a beautiful home that you love every day. I live in a 1960s rambling ranch style house. My ceilings are excruciatingly low. I have 89-inch high ceilings. So as you can see that my ceiling is only 8 to 10 inches above my windows. So that dictates why I chose a lot of the curtain rods and the curtain styles that I have. With low ceilings, I wanted to try to elevate my curtains all the way to the ceilings so that it would appear that my ceilings were a little bit higher. It's kind of useless because they are so incredibly low. There's just no getting around it. That really has a lot to do with the type of rod you pick, where you install your curtain rod. The height of your ceiling will definitely dictate that. If you have super high ceilings with very tall windows, lucky you, but that, you know, your ceiling height and your window size will definitely dictate your window treatment style, your rod style. This video is sort of a follow-up to the video that I made last week about how I changed my sister's grommet top drapes into inverted box pleat drapes. I got a lot of comments on that video and a lot of people coming after me in the comments about my choice of curtain rod. So we'll get to that. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. The types of curtain rods that there are. So there's just a traditional curtain rod, which is what I have here. It's just a straight curtain rod with regular brackets, and you can hang from it in a lot of different ways. As you can see here, I've got my rod and rings. You could do a rod pocket curtain where you just sure the fabric right onto the curtain rod. You could use a curtain that has a back pocket back here and you just slide your rod into there. There's just all kinds of ways that you can hang your draperies on a traditional rod like this. And of course, a traditional rod like this comes in all shapes and sizes, colors, finishes. You know, you can get almost an unlimited variety of traditional curtain rods like this. This happens to be an Ikea curtain rod. They are very, very inexpensive and very easy to install. These are also Ikea Ritva curtains, which I lined and I installed buckram and then created a pinch pleat header for these. These are installed with drapery hooks, and let me take them off so you can see my drapery hooks are installed in the pleats. I have the hooks all the way to the top of the curtain so that my curtains will hang below the rod. And the reason that I hang my curtains below the rod is because I like for my spaces to be able to push back between my pleats. Now these pleats are getting a little bit messy. They've been hung here for years and I need to clean them. They're really dusty, but anyhow, I like for my spaces to be able to tuck back behind my pleats so that when these curtains are all open, my pleats all come to the front and they line up nice and neatly at the front. If you install your hooks lower on your curtain, let me show you. So now my hooks are installed lower. Let me re-hang them. Okay, so now you see that my curtain actually covers up my rod, and that is definitely a certain type of a look. So you see how it covers my rod here, and here we're still hanging below. Well, you can also see that when you open your curtains, now your spaces, they have nowhere to go. They can't tuck back behind the pleats because the rod is there. So my preference is to have my curtains hung below the rod so that my pleats, or my spaces, I mean, these are the pleats, my spaces can tuck in between, and when they're pushed open, it's a nice neat stack with just the pleats showing. In this situation, you have your spaces poking out in between the pleats, and I just don't love the look. I find it to be a little bit messy. That's just a personal opinion, and two ways to hang your draperies from a rod and rings is covering the rod. Let me also show you on my hospital tracks, which is where I got a lot of feedback on that last video, the differences with the hospital track hanging situation. Here we are in my bedroom, and in my bedroom I have a hospital track that my draperies are on. I also have this blackout Roman shade, so therefore my draperies don't get closed all that often, but I did want to have them on a track that was easily opened and closed because it's so easy. I did have a regular curtain rod in here, and I had these drapes on a regular curtain rod with rings, and when I wanted to open and close them, it was difficult. Even if I sprayed them with silicone spray, they were hard to get across the rod, and it's because these are velvet and they're very heavy. So that's why I decided to put in a hospital track for ease of use, and because of my low ceilings, I wanted my drapes to go all the way to the ceiling, like right to the top of the ceiling. I know that the hospital track is not beautifully decorative. However, it is made to show. It is made somewhat decoratively. It's not like in the old days, back in the 60s, when they made traversing rods. They were very utilitarian, and so they were just a thin metal track with the traversing on one end. And those were never made to show because back then people did double curtains. They generally did a sheer fabric that was rarely ever opened, and then they also did heavier draperies on the outside. It seemed like back then people liked to have their heavy draperies closed a lot, and they almost always had sheers across the windows. So that's why those traversing rods were not decorative. Well, now we tend to these days open our draperies all the way and have our windows open and bare almost all the time. And so that's why I think the rods have become more decorative. And in my opinion, this Ikea Vigda rod, whatever it's called, is not beautiful, but it's also not offensive. I think that it just kind of blends with my ceiling. And honestly, it was my intention in here to hang some crown molding and cover. I've got crown molding on my closet cabinets. I'll show you. So this is my closet cabinets right here that goes all the way across the wall. There's crown molding up there. I intended to continue that crown molding across the wall and cover that track with the crown molding, but I haven't gotten to that. That'll hopefully be soon. Anyways, I wanted to show you the comparison on the hospital track of what it looks like to hang the hook, the drapery hook, a little bit lower on the curtain so that it does cover the track. So you can see that the top of the drape is covering the track. Clearly, when your curtains are open, the track shows in the middle, so it's always going to show. Okay, so you can see when the curtains are drawn that the track doesn't show, and my curtain header is pretty much right against the ceiling. That's the difference, where in my living room, I have the same hospital track. So I just wanted to show you quickly the difference between the bedroom hospital track and my living room hospital. And I have pinch pleated draperies out here. In my bedroom, clearly those were ripple fold draperies, so just a different style header. And then out here, I hung the drapery hook right at the top edge so that, similar to my daughter's bedroom, I can have my spaces tucked back. And of course my rod shows, but in my opinion, it's not like the old traversing rods, so I'm fine with it. And I wanted it to hang from the ceiling, once again, because I wanted to elongate my draperies and the line of my draperies to try to lift the eye up in order to make the ceilings feel a little bit taller. So that's why I hung it right on the ceiling. Let me show you one more space in my home where I did these tracks. Okay, so far we've talked about just a traditional curtain rod. They come in a myriad of styles, colors, and everything. You can have metal or wood. You can have a French return, swing arm style. There's just so many, and they're affordable. A traditional rod and rings is quite affordable. You can get them just about anywhere. Ikea and JCPenney and Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, Target, you know, anywhere. On up to ordering from Drapery Hardware Direct to Kirsch to high-end drapery companies. The price points vary widely as well. And then we talked about the hospital tracks, which hospital tracks are kind of, in my opinion, purely functional, which in a lot of ways I think is almost more important than the look of it, particularly in some situations. Like in this room, I wanted a hospital track because I wanted it to be super easy to open and close, because this is my guest bedroom. And I did not want my guests to have to be struggling to open and close these drapes. So I opted for a hospital track. So that's what we have here. The last style of curtain rod that you can buy is a traversing rod. And a traversing rod is very similar to a hospital track. The only difference is that the carriers are connected to one another to a manual or sometimes a motorized open and close device. So with a traverse rod, when you pull your cord on the side, you'll remember that the traverse rods were really popular in the 50s, 60s, 70s when everybody had real heavy double draperies. Traverse rods are super functional and they can be super decorative. You can get traverse rods that look like a large pole, wood, metal, all different styles. The thing about traverse rods is that they can be very pricey because you cannot usually buy them off the shelf. They're generally custom, they're made for your specific window size, and so therefore traverse rods are pricey. You can get some little bit less expensive ones I've seen some on Amazon. JCPenney is actually a pretty inexpensive place to buy traverse rods. They go on up from there to all the custom places, Decorative Rods Direct and Kirsch and all those places. So that's why I don't have a lot of traversing rods. I would love to have a beautiful brass traversing rod on every window in my house, but they're expensive. So therefore I buy the cheap, very functional hospital tracks. There you have it, a few places in my house where I have different styles of drapery. I've got one more rod that I'll show you on my front doors that I just have a shirred sheer curtain on there, rod pocket style. But I have a ton of videos on making draperies, other videos on drapery install. So if you want to see my videos on how to make your own custom draperies for your house, you can click on this playlist right here. It'll take you to all my drapery videos. And this is the last set of curtains in my house. Those are my front doors, and I just have them on a traditional rod, and they're just shirred on there in a rod pocket. And this is my next upholstery project, so stick around and you'll see these chairs done.